This episode of Hak5 is brought to you by GoDaddy, Squarespace, Gamefly, and viewers like you.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Hak5. I'm Matt Lestock.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Shannon Morse.
And we are here to bring you your weekly dose of technolust.
Because that's how we do it here.
Exactly. A little thing we've, kind of patented, stole from somewhere else, but we've patented it because that's how we roll.
2 points if you can tell us where we stole it. But anyway, in the forums.
We're not keeping track.
No.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
It's, been a while. It's been,
I missed you.
Damn near a month since I've been inside the premises that I
No, it
so.
hasn't. You were gone for 2 episodes.
Which in
internet land means like a decade. I understand, but still.
Yeah.
So? They haven't written you off yet. We kept your user account on the forums.
Thank you.
Nah, no problem. That's what we did.
I was logging into IRC from home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how was your trip up north?
It was good. Just real quick, my father passed away. Yeah, it sucks, but he and I got to say what we needed to say. Mm-hmm. So my sister got married in front of him at the hospital. It was real nice.
Wow.
So
there was a wedding too?
Yeah.
Hey.
I got there Wednesday. She got married Thursday, and he passed the next Wednesday. So he's kind of waiting for that kind of stuff. But anyway, sorry to bring down the show. But no, it's good.
Cool.
It's good.
We've all been there.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I've been there, and well.
So today I have brought ESXi back.
Yes, you have, and I'm looking forward to diving right in because you're bringing up a topic that is near and dear to my heart as I am trying to figure it all out.
Well, how far along are you?
Oh, I'm pretty far along now. I've got quite a few things where I've used about 40% of my RAM and my disk.
Really?
Already. Oh yeah.
How many machines you got?
6.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not fully migrated yet?
Oh no, I'm not fully migrated, but I'm making sure that like how I had it before was I had like 3 servers to work with, right? So I was having everything do like triple duty. I had like a domain controller also running as an Exchange server, also running as lots of different things. I mean, I might as well have made my secondary domain controller on the same PDC or something. I mean, I was doing crazy shit that you're not supposed to do.
Exactly.
So I'm segmenting it all out and making it the way that it's supposed to be. So cool. I mean, what can you do? Right?
Well, yeah, not a whole lot. But what we're going to be talking about today is physical to virtual. I touched on this and did a brief segment for you guys if you were going to be doing, the whole like workstation kind of thing, VMware workstation and stuff like that. But now we're actually going to be connecting and taking this machine and dumping it onto the ESXi server.
Yeah.
Which is nice because we don't have to worry about transitioning files and stuff like that and adding to inventory. It does it all automatically. So
and I totally would have done that with my existing infrastructure if my bits were not borked. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what
There's something nice about having a fresh start.
And then also virtual to physical.
So we can go
sometimes
background.
You just need a little bit more horsepower.
We ever gonna do some BSD jails?
No.
No? Matt's not a friend of the open source. That's why I'm gonna be talking about Tomcat here. We're talking Apache love, good open source foundation stuff, and Java, because it still exists, it turns out, and a lot of enterprises needs to run software, and so if you're in a situation where you need to support that kind of stuff, it's the only game in town. We're going to talk about the fun, scenic way to do it, and it's laying the foundation for some stuff I'm going to do next episode with some happy, good open source funness.
Is this a thing that we're going to start doing is, series? Because I like the whole series. I didn't have to think a whole lot.
What are you talking about? I mean, like, the last 2 episodes, the last 3 episodes, it was talking about disk encryption, and then we're talking about the cold boot, and then talking about analyzing the memory. I mean, and it all is driven by the feedback from the viewers, and it's all just driven by what we're doing day to day. So no, I mean, there's a series. I mean, if you watch, there's arcs and whatever.
I guess I spaced out on those episodes.
Nah, I don't watch half of them really.
Paul doesn't either. Paul, have you ever watched an episode of Hak5?
I download them every day on Wednesday.
That a boy.
He went the first 3 years never watching an episode.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, and then he watched them all after the 3rd season. He goes, "This is horrible." Anyway.
Why is my name associated with this? All right.
We're rambling on enough, so let's go ahead and find out how you guys can join us in Williamsburg, Virginia at Busch Gardens.
We are celebrating our 4-year anniversary as well as the 6th season of Hak5 by doing our very first meetup. Finally, it's on August 15th at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and you can find all the info over at hak5meetup.squarespace.com. It's open to all ages. Obviously, it's a theme park, and there's going to be beer and hacking and roller coasters and more beer and more roller coasters. So join us, make sure to RSVP. We are so excited, we can't wait. And I would like to thank our sponsor, Squarespace.
With Squarespace, you can build beautiful looking blogs or websites in a fraction of the time it would take with a traditional content management system. Their intuitive drag and drop interface is as snappy and powerful as a desktop publishing app. But best of all, there's no software to install, no databases to configure, no patches to apply, and no code to fiddle with. Find out for yourself how simple and powerful it can be with a 2-week free trial at squarespace.com. And use promo code HAK5 to support the show and save 10% off the life of your service at squarespace.com.
Next up, Matt is taking one of these and turning it into one of these. But first, we're going to take a break.
All right, guys, so I am back here in the studio. It's good to be back. It's a little warm, but you know, we can deal with that. And today I'm bringing ESXi conversation back. After a number of emails that I got from you guys, some of you have asked, how do I take a physical server that I already have deployed and move that over to my ESXi box so that I can redeploy a server somewhere else or use that for an ESXi box? Well, it's pretty easy. And the tool we're going to use is VMware vSphere Converter. A lot of V's, a lot of C's. Yeah, we know. Actually, one C. And what we're going to do is we're going to download it VMware.com, install it. If you don't have a problem, you know, running it on the machine, it doesn't make a whole lot of changes. You can uninstall the software after we actually get done with this. That's fine. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take a running machine and we're going to transition it to a virtual machine on our ESXi server. Now, how we're going to do that? So we've already got the service installed. We're going to go over here to Converter Standalone Client. This is going to launch here. And once it's done, we're going to be hit with a very simplistic interface. A couple buttons at the top, convert machine, configure machine, things like that. So we're going to convert machine. Okay. Now here is where we get hit with our first options. The source type is going to be a powered on machine. Okay. Now this machine is powered on. We're using it. We've installed Converter onto it, and we're going to take an image of this and transition it over there. What I would recommend is you stop SQL instances, Exchange server, FTP web, any service that isn't critical to the system. Go ahead and stop it just in case. You know, real-time transaction logs and things like that tend to have an issue when taking, you know, overtime block level. You get the point. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say this local machine. Now, if you have another machine that you need to take a look at, you can actually point it at there. Okay, so now we're presented with our next screen, which is specify our destination. Our destination is going to be our newly created ESXi server that is happy, humming along, doing its thing with no issues. Our IP address just happens to be 10.10.0.55. Our username is root, and our password is Hak5. Now remember to, if you're running multiple hosts and you have vSphere, you know, the virtual center, whatever they call it now, you would connect to that and then push it out from there. But because we're just running a single host of ESXi, we're actually going to connect directly to the host. So just make sure you remember your credentials when you've set them up. We're going to click Next. And here we can actually now see our list of servers that are installed on the ESXi server. So we've got FreeNAS on there already, and that is the only server that is currently on the ESXi host. We're going to select Data Store 1, which has more free space. This is a 75 gigabyte total disk source size, and the virtual machine name is going to be Lenovo Netbook. Okay, and then we're going to click Next. And here we can actually take a look at all the options that the system presents us with. So here we see, well, we don't have customization tools installed. These are really only useful if you guys are going to deploy a large number of Windows 2000, 2003, 2008 servers. There's different instructions for installing the sysprep utilities on the virtual machine or on the guest host physical server at this point, so that you can actually customize the internals of the machine. We don't really need to do that, like we said. We've already shut our stuff down. There's no reconfiguration needed. This is going to handle everything that we need to do. So we're going to come up back over here, and on post-conversion power state, we'll leave it off. Post-conversion processing, we can reconfigure the destination virtual machine. You're probably going to want to do that because you're probably going to want to assign 2 processors, 4 processors, 1 processor, and adjust the amount of memory because you're in a virtual environment now. You also have the option to install the VMware tools on the imported machine after the conversion is done. However, I like doing it manually. I don't know why. That's just me. So we're going to click Next. And here's our review one more time. This is what's going to happen. It's going to preserve the NIC count. We've got 3 NICs in the system. Monolithic flat disk going to data store 1. It's not going to install the VMware tools and reconfigure the virtual machine, and we're going to click Finish. Now, once this is actually done processing, it's going to validate the task, and it's going to send the commands over to the ESXi server. So here we can see this local machine. The destination is 10.10.0.55/Lenovo, and the status is it's running. So it's now taking our our physical machine, and it's taking the image of the physical machine and converting it over, pushing it in real time over to the ESXi server, so we don't have to worry about creating images, transferring them, adding them to the inventory. This is doing everything that you need to do. Like I said, if you really wanted to, you can go through the process and install this on a bunch of different ones and actually run a server client on your desktop or your laptop at the office and convert a bunch of different machines one by one, or you can do them in batch, whatever. Play with it. It's not really going to harm anything. If you fail on a conversion, delete the virtual machine off the ESX server and try again. That's really how I've learned all of this stuff, is just trial and error. You hit a button, you f it up, and you, oops, do it again. So if you have any questions, hit me up, matt@hak5.org, or hit the forums at forums.hak5.org. And we're going to take a look at trivia, and then after that, Darren has some Tomcat lovin'. I'm going to tell him why I don't like Tomcat, but maybe he has a better reason. I don't know.
Keep your personal information away from spammers, hackers, and your crazy ex-roommate. Private domain registration from GoDaddy.com protects your privacy by keeping your address, phone number, and more out of the public database. Check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all of our GoDaddy codes and offers.
So you guys know from a couple weeks ago, we've been having a cool contest going on from episode 519, and that is build your own white box server, $2,000. What can you guys come up with? And we've seen some really creative stuff in the forums. So now it's time that Matt's back, and we've had a chance to go over some of the results and come up with our winner that will be receiving the awesome Hak5 swag bag along with the shot glass. You know, so you can play the Hak5 drinking game at home. And I thought we would go through a couple of these really cool ones leading up to the winner. Now, first of all, I have to mention Stead77's awesome entry. He put together an 8-core system, right? So dual quad core with 16 gigs of RAM, a 3-rail RAID, 4 terabytes of disk for $1,700 using a pimped out Dell Precision 490 workstation. So basically getting a cheap Dell dual processor machine, throwing out the dual cores are in it, putting some quad cores in, hooking up the RAM, hooking up the disk. I thought that was kind of a unique way to go about it. And then Mr. Avin kind of came up with a neat solution using both an ESXi server and an iSCSI target using really cheap cases like $20 cases, just throwing decent components in there, but it's all on a gigabit LAN, so he's actually got like a switch in there, and then you've got your ESXi server mounting your iSCSI targets. Love it, sounds really cool, but we've got to give it up to Dodo. Dodo put together a really neat solution using a 4U case that's a 24-bay rack mount enclosure, 12 gigs of RAM, and he says up to 11 terabytes of disk with the $2,000 option. And he did want to go for software RAID, which is the one thing that made Matt and I go like, right? Because the board itself only has 8 SATA, but we were like, dude, it's so like, you know, with the play money, because he only got it up to that point and said, you know, like, all right, a couple options, right? And what I'm thinking is, man, throw a 3-ware in there, maybe get like just 5 or 6 drives, right? But 24, I mean, this thing is sick looking, right? Right here, yeah. This is quite a crazy case. So I'm totally digging the creativity there. And I got to give a shout out and thank you to everybody that participated and just seeing some really neat stuff on the forums. We love that. So we will be hooking up Dodo. Thanks so much for participating in this contest, and we're going to be back next week with a new one. But first, it's time to talk about some crazy cool open source goodness, LAMP stuff, right? So I'm thinking to myself, dude, it's about time we talk about some LAMP on the show, right? No, not one of these. I'm talking about Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, the good stuff, right? But then I was like, you know, it's kind of passé. I mean, right? How about instead of LAMP, we do Linux and then Apache Tomcat, and you're like, what's a Tomcat, right? And it's like, yeah, the Apache Foundation makes more than just Apache. They got a whole bunch of cool open source projects. And this is really one of these things that I kind of came across because in my day job as a sysadmin, I just, you know, talk about on the show what we're doing day to day, and it's been on my mind because I've been, you know, implementing some really boring accounting systems with it. There's a lot of crazy, stupid crap written in Java. And we'll talk about the downsides for in a little bit right here. And we're getting the chat room scrolling right now saying all the hate for Tomcat. And I understand that, right? But it's really the only game in town, right? It's Tomcat and it's JRun. And JRun is, I forget who originally made it, but it's been like, you know, it's been changing hands. It was like this one company, and then it was Macromedia, and then when, you know, Macromedia, and then Adobe said in '07, you know, that's it for JRun. And it's like, so if you're going to run, you know, if you're going to run Tomcat in the enterprise, you don't have a choice. It's like open source, right? And I think that's really, really cool. And I'm not crazy. I mean, you guys, I'm not crazy about Java. You guys know that I'm like in love with PHP. And I will learn some other languages here soon. But I thought that we could maybe take the scenic route and set up our own Linux Apache Tomcat server, and it's kind of one of these things that applies to many other things when it comes to setting up Linux servers, and you know, something that I'm doing a lot of now with my ESXi. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? All right, here we are logged into our Ubuntu server. Yes, I am going to go ahead and just use an Ubuntu server because, you know, why not? I love Ubuntu, and I don't care. You can blame me for it. It doesn't matter. It's a Linux distro, and it works, right? So back into it. Basically, we're going to go ahead and wget the latest version of Apache Tomcat. And once we've got that, we're going to go ahead and untar it. And now we're just going to move it to a happy place. So in this case, the happy place is going to be user local Tomcat. That's just going to make things easy for us. So let's go ahead and sudo to mv that. Now that we have it downloaded and moved to its happy place, we're just going to go ahead and make sure that we actually have the Java JDK. And if we don't, we'll go ahead and install it. So for that, let's just run java-version. And we can see we don't have it. So it's simply on Debian. Let's just go ahead and apt-get install sun java 6. And we want the JDK. So we've got the JDK installed, but Tomcat actually needs an environment variable, so happy fun stuff. Let's go ahead and add that to our bash RC. And all we need to do is come down here and insert a little export. Java_home equals where it is, and it's in, for us, in user lib jvm sun6 java. Now we just need to come up with a couple of startup scripts that's going to tell Tomcat how to start and restart and stop on all that fun stuff. It's pretty easy. All we have to do is create a new file, and we're going to sudo vi in etc initd and make the file Tomcat. And we're just going to go ahead and give it some metadata up here and just call it. And there we go. It's just a matter of defining start, stop, and restart to actually hit the .sh files appropriately in the /bin. And we go ahead and save that, and then last but not least, we have to actually give it a little bit execute action. So for that, chmod it, or chmod it. 755 for the win. And you have to be root to do that, so there we go, and that's done. Hooray! And since we're going to want Tomcat to actually boot up when the server boots up, let's go ahead and add a couple of symlinks there to make that happen. So in that case, we're going to link that file that we just created, initd tomcat, to etc rc1.d, and we're going to make this k99 tomcat. And let's do it again, but this time rc2.d, and we're going to call it s99.tomcat. Whoops. And I will clean that mistake up later. So there we go. We have a Tomcat server running. So let's go ahead and see if it works. And issue etc init.d tomcat and tell it start. And hooray, it has started. So let's actually find out if this is working. And for that, I need to figure out the IP address here. And we've got 10.10.0.135. So get out of my virtual box here, and let's pull up Chrome, my favorite browser. And head over to 10.10.0.135 on port 8080. That's where it is by default. And there we go. We've got our admin panel. It's got the cute little kitty, and we're ready to go. Now, we do need to actually add a manager interface to this so that we can actually go into the Tomcat manager and start adding more files. And we'll be talking a lot more about that in the next part of this segment. But for right now, let's go ahead and create that account so we can finish laying this groundwork. So back to our virtual box. It's just a matter of coming over to user local Tomcat, where we were, right? And you can see we got a nice little conf folder here. So let's go into conf, and as you might imagine, here are all the configuration files. Who would have figured? And let's sudo vi tomcat users.xml. Because if you don't do this, you don't actually have access to any of the fun stuff that you just installed. It's pretty easy to add a user. There's XML that's already in here. You could uncomment some stuff, but we're just going to go ahead and add a new user with the manager role. So for that, I'm just going to come into here within the Tomcat users part of the XML, and I am going to add what it tells me to. I'm going to click Tomcat Manager. It's going to say, hey, log in. And I'm going to say, no, cancel, because I don't have a login. And it's going to tell me what to do. And I'm going to say, great. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I want to add role manager. Oops. Role name equals manager. And username equals Tomcat. That'll be fine. And then password, we'll make it something stupid. And then we'll give it the manager role. And that's pretty much it. We'll go ahead and save that file. And when we come over to our Chrome again, we should actually be able to log in to our newly installed Tomcat server. Tomcat and that crappy password that we just created. Oh, did I forget to mention that we have to restart the service? That would probably be a good idea. Come back over to here, and just as we had created that startup script that's going to allow us to start and stop and whatnot, we'll just issue again /etc/init.d/tomcat and restart. Hooray for the win. It's restarted, and we should be able to log in. Back to the kitty, Tomcat Manager. And there we go. We are logged into the back end of Apache Tomcat, and this is where we can start installing fun little servlet happy goodness. And we're just going to go ahead and stop here because it's a lot of crazy stuff. And let's get Matt back in here so that he can ridicule me for using Java and open source, and it will be fun. And like I said, laying the groundwork. Next week we're going to do some fun, happy open source goodness from my favorite place, SourceForge, of course. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be wrapping this up in just a moment.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go.
I want to let everybody know that Gamefly is an amazing service. They are the largest online video game rental service and offer a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, Gamefly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. You can also purchase a game if you fall in love with it They'll send you the box and the manual for a nominal fee. Head on over to gamefly.com/Hak5 to get 2-week free trial membership. Gamefly.com/Hak5. All right, guys. So Darren just talked to you about Tomcat and the semi-usefulness of the server itself. However, I do want to let you guys know that unless you have an experienced Tomcat admin, much like those of you who need to run .NET applications on Linux, who need a dedicated mono admin, if you do not secure your server properly and stay up to date, you will be in for a world of hurt. Right, Darren?
Yeah, you don't want to leave Tomcat open to the world. You want to put that behind a bunch of layers of defenses and make sure that the patch and all that. It's just a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
why
not a huge fan of Tomcat, to be honest with you guys.
I don't run Tomcat or Mono on public-facing services. It's just a really, I mean, like I said, unless you have an admin who's experienced with those, servers, you're in for, a surprise when you get a call from your ISP saying, "Hey, why are there hundreds of thousands of connections coming from your box?" It's not good.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, I'm gonna say, like, yes, I'm not a fan of Tomcat, but I am showing it on here on the show. And why? Well, because I don't want to be the 9 millionth podcast to do a LAMP install, and because the things that we just talked about here are pretty much the same, whether it's going to be a Python or a Perl or a Ruby or a whatever you go with. And I just, think
the principles are the same.
Right, and if you haven't gotten your feet wet, and trust me, I'm no Linux guru, but okay, 2 reasons, right? So why would you want to run Tomcat? No, you wouldn't, but if you have to, go ahead and run it on Linux, because it's going to make it a little bit easier. It's going to be a lot less expensive, and it's really the only game in town.
Yeah, remember that
JK.
phrase. Only if you have to.
Yeah.
And then you don't need a public-facing Tomcat server.
Not anymore. No, I got OpenVPN. We'll talk about that later. Good stuff. So yeah, that is our disclaimer there, but we're doing it anyway, because that, and in at least in Ubuntu 9.04 that I'm actually running this in, it's got this nice happy little interface when you go to install the server, and it says, "Hey, do you want this to be a LAMP server or a Tomcat server?" And you just check a little box, and you don't have to do any of that. But that would make for fun. Yeah.
TV.
Like bash prompts do.
Exactly.
Fail. I'm just going to take a fail bus ticket right now.
Just go.
I do have some feedback on some recent questions, and that is disable quick boot if you're concerned about the cold boot attack, because in a lot of cases when you actually disable quick boot, it actually counts the RAM when you boot up, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, do you remember you're like 486 and it'd be like counting your 16 megs of RAM and it took forever?" And you disabled that stuff because it took forever, right? Imagine what it would take with like 4 gigs of RAM,
Dude, if
right?
you had a 486 with 16 megs of RAM, you were pimp-tacular.
I was booking, man. I was playing. Dude, no love on that. I mean, I had
a Pentium
Duke
60
Nukem.
with 8 megs of RAM.
Duke Nukem 3D for the win.
Anyway,
yes, TPM with BitLocker. Yeah, that's going to cause a problem with cold boot. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
God, I had something too, and you're. Sorry.
It'll come back.
I don't think it will.
Anything else?
We need to talk about the store, which is finally back up and running.
Yes.
My apologies. We were getting denial of service. So went ahead and put some countermeasures in, and so that we can track exactly which service is doing what and script is running as who, we implemented a new protection scheme, and it jacked up the old store, which self-admittedly was a piece of shit.
It was a piece of shit. Yeah.
So the store's back up. Head on over to hak5.org/
Hackshop will take you there.
Hackshop. I'll make sure shop goes there too.
Or shop.
Or store.
They'll all go there. Yes.
Yeah, follow Darren's Twitter. All of our Twitter's actually right.
Except for Paul. He doesn't
right
tweet.
Here.
Yeah, Paul does not tweet.
He did
No,
today.
he doesn't.
Oh, wow. He's like
Only because Dave Randolph said, "Paul, I'm
the
waiting for your
one-tweet
tweet."
tweeter.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Oh.
So what do we got as far as?
About snubs with the unicorns?
Yeah. It's like embroidered.
I like Tokidoki. I can't lie. It's so cute.
Exactly.
I like unicorns, so.
We do have a pretty sweet promo going on this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, don't act too excited about it. It's only
Well,
like the best
it is
show on
one
Rev
of
3.
my favorite shows on Rev 3.
Yeah.
I mean, Hak5 is my favorite, but I gotta give my props over to Co-op. Co-op's next episode features all sorts of indie projects that you definitely don't want to miss. They have Critter Crunch for the iPhone, Explosion Man for 360, and the fantasy RPG platformer for the PC, Trine. Check out Co-op every Tuesday at revision3.com/coop.
Koopa.
Coop. Okay, it's Co-op, but either way. Anyway, guys, next week you definitely want to stick around and see that episode. We are going to be showing off an ultimate USB hotkey. Sound good? Maybe? Ookie?
I like it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Well, enough of these guys. I think they've talked way too much. It's a huge sausage fest in here, and I got to get back to playing Fable 2. So, we are telling you to trust your Technolust.
Darren Kitchen attends the Busch Gardens Amusement Park, where he was amused until he was dead.
I said, what in the butt?
See, Matt looks in the mirror and he just loses himself. He just gazes deeply into those big, beautiful eyes. He fogs up the mirror just by himself. I should have like a PayPal pin like right under this. Like
PayPal
gold
blows.
Yeah. You just
No
gotta keep it rolling.
teleprompters, no lights.
No talent.
Don't make me regulate my get a fat food, stab a thigh, geek a savvy, and government go choose Wu-Tang. Bitch.
You're scared of bugs.
So,
You need like give me a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
Matt, you're picking your nose on camera. Come
No, I'm not. I'm scratching my nose.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is picking my nose.
I hear that from Ryan though. Like, can you do something about Matt picking his
Wait,
nose?
he said
Really?
Scratching your-
Really?
Yeah.
That's how we're gonna roll, Ryan?
It's not me getting hurt. It's Matt. Just in case.
Ugh.